My people, have you ever heard of a mother-in-law who would rather keep her son as a lover than see him happily married? This story you are about to hear will make your heart tremble. In a quiet village, a young wife entered her marriage thinking she had found love, only to discover that the real enemy in her home was the woman who gave birth to her husband. Sit well, my friends, for what happened next is a lesson you will never forget. When I married Daniel, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. He was kind, handsome, and came from a family everyone in the village respected. His mother, Madame Grace, welcomed me with open arms, smiling so sweetly that I believed she truly loved me as a daughter. But from the first day I entered Daniel's family home, I noticed something unusual. Madame Grace seemed too close to her son, touching his face often, whispering in his ear, and always finding excuses to be alone with him. At first, I thought it was just a mother's love. But soon I began to see more. One night, I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen for water. As I passed Daniel's old bedroom, the one he used before we married, I heard low voices. I recognized Daniel's deep tone, and Madame Grace's gentle laugh. Curiosity pushed me closer, and what I saw through the half-open door froze my heart. Daniel was sitting on the bed, and Madame Grace's hand rested on his chest as she spoke softly to him. They looked at each other like lovers, not like mother and son. The next morning I went to the stream to fetch water. An old woman from the village, Mama Rose, stopped me. She looked around before speaking. "Child, be careful. That woman in your house is not what she seems. She has driven away every woman Daniel tried to marry." I was shocked. "Why would a mother do that?" I asked. Mama Rose shook her head. "Because she doesn't want to lose him. She wants him for herself." Her words made my skin crawl. That evening, Madame Grace cooked a big meal. She served Daniel first, smiling as she placed the best pieces of meat on his plate. Then she leaned close and whispered something in his ear, making him laugh. When she turned to serve me, her smile faded. She dropped a smaller portion in my plate and walked away without a word. It was clear, her kindness to me had been only for show. One night, Daniel and I argued because he was always spending time with his mother instead of me. In anger, I blurted out, "Are you in love with her?" His eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought he would deny it. But instead he said coldly, "She has always been the only woman who understands me." My stomach turned. This was no ordinary bond. It was a forbidden love. Soon, I began to notice people in the village whispering whenever I passed. One afternoon, a young girl told me she had seen Daniel and Madame Grace walking in the forest, holding hands like a couple. The shame was too much. I wanted to confront them publicly, but I feared no one would believe me. After all, who would dare accuse a mother of such a thing? I decided to watch them closely. If I could get proof, the truth would be known. So one night, I pretended to sleep while Daniel left the bed quietly. I followed him from a distance, careful not to make a sound. He went straight to his mother's room. The door closed behind him. My heart pounded, and I waited in the dark, praying I was wrong. But after an hour they still hadn't come out. Finally the door opened a little. I saw Daniel without his shirt, and Madame Grace adjusting her wrapper. She kissed him on the cheek before he left the room. I ran back to my bed before he could see me, but tears soaked my pillow. I now had my answer. My marriage was cursed by the one person who should have been my second mother. The next morning I went to Mama Rose again. She listened quietly as I told her what I had seen. She nodded sadly. "It is a spirit of jealousy that controls her. If you don't break it, she will destroy your life." Mama Rose gave me a small gourd and told me to pour its contents at the doorway of Madame Grace's room at midnight, without being seen. That night, while everyone slept, I crept to Madame Grace's door. My hands trembled as I poured the liquid from the gourd along the threshold. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. It was Daniel. His eyes burned with anger. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. I froze, unsure if the ritual would even work now that he had seen me. The next morning something strange happened. Madame Grace stayed in her room all day, refusing to eat. By evening, she began to cry loudly, confessing to the village women that she had loved her son in an unholy way. The women gasped in shock, and the elders called a meeting. They said a cleansing ritual must be done immediately to free the family from shame. The elders performed the ritual, and Madame Grace was taken to live with her sister in another village. Daniel avoided me for days, ashamed of everything. When he finally spoke, he begged for forgiveness. I told him I would try, but I could never forget what had happened. The wound in my heart would take time to heal. Months passed, and Daniel began to change. He no longer kept secrets from me and treated me with respect. The village slowly stopped whispering, and I began to feel like myself again. Though the pain of the past still lingered, I learned a lesson. Evil can hide in the sweetest smiles, and sometimes the greatest danger lives under your own roof. And so, my people, the truth came out, and the evil that had been hiding in sweet smiles was exposed for all to see. But remember, not every enemy comes from outside. Sometimes the danger sleeps under the same roof. Trust is a delicate thing, and love without wisdom can be destroyed by jealousy. Let this story be a reminder. Always open your eyes, for the snake that bites you might be the one you fed yesterday. Until we meet again, stay safe, and listen to the whispers around you. The end.